A residential neighborhood in central Texas began losing its usual peace as wild hogs appeared with increasing frequency. At first, they stayed around undeveloped lots along the edge of the community. Before long, however, the sounder moved closer to homes, searching through trash bins and using their snouts to tear up lawns. Each morning, residents found mud scattered across walkways, gardens ripped into patches, and countless hoof prints pressed into the soil. Their increasingly frequent visits caused serious concern because, besides damaging property, wild hogs can suddenly charge when they feel threatened . Fields bordering the neighborhood gradually became regular feeding grounds for the hogs. After nightfall, they emerged from their hiding places, crossed nearby roads, and entered rice paddies and cornfields. The entire sounder moved through the crops, flattening rice plants and digging into the soil for roots, tubers, and leftover food. The damage became so severe that some farmers were forced to harvest their rice earlier than planned. More troublingly, the animals also began running openly across the fields during daylight, trampling young plants and leaving the ground badly churned. As the damage continued to spread, the farmer decided to install a large corral trap near the forest edge, where the hogs regularly appeared. Infrared cameras were placed along nearby trails to determine how many animals were visiting and when they arrived. Food was scattered throughout the enclosure, so the sounder could gradually become comfortable with the trap. During the first few nights, they remained at a distance, feeding and watching before quickly retreating. After some time, the younger hogs began walking to the entrance, while the adults remained cautious. The farmer continued waiting patiently for an opportunity to capture the entire group. Based on what they had observed, the team installed a second trap. It was positioned directly along a trail, showing frequent hog activity, and infrared cameras were mounted nearby. Bait was then placed deep inside the enclosure to draw the entire sounder in. On the very first night, the cameras recorded a family of wild hogs entering one by one. Once the adults and piglets were all inside, the gate suddenly dropped, holding nearly the entire group. The rapid results showed that choosing the correct trap location had played a decisive role just after daybreak. The monitoring system suddenly reported movement at the trap. The live camera feed showed the hogs entering one after another and gathering around the bait in the center, rather than closing the gate immediately. The farmer kept watching and waited for the remaining animals outside to join the group. Once the entire sounder was within the capture area, he remotely activated the system. The barrier quickly closed, starting the hogs and causing them to rush in different directions while searching for an escape. However, the sturdy structure and secure locking mechanism held firm, marking the trap's first successful operation. As the day drew to a close, the traps produced results that exceeded everyone's expectations. After checking the number, size, and condition of each animal, the team carefully loaded them onto specialized transport vehicles and removed them from the area. Everything that followed was handled in accordance with local regulations, with safety prioritized and unnecessary stress kept to a minimum. For the team, success was measured not only by the number of hogs captured, but also by whether the work was carried out responsibly, properly, and humanely. Each trap offered a different lesson. Strong equipment may still fail when placed in the wrong location, while a simpler system can deliver impressive results when positioned directly along the sounder's regular travel route. More importantly, controlling wild hogs is not a challenge that can be solved in a single night. It is a long-term process requiring patient observation and constant adjustments in strategy. Only by combining effectiveness, safety, and responsibility can farmers protect their crops while maintaining a careful balance with the natural environment.
For many consecutive weeks, herds of wild boars began leaving the deep forest to search for food in crop fields located near the forest edge. At first, they only appeared late at night and quickly returned to the forest before sunrise. However, over time, their visits became more frequent and their range of movement expanded significantly. More and more cultivated fields showed fresh tracks, uprooted soil, and damaged crops. Farmers repeatedly found new signs every morning, indicating that the herd had returned night after night. As the level of damage continued to increase, monitoring the herd's activity became necessary. At first, only a few wild boars appeared near the farmland, but within a short period their numbers grew into large herds. They repeatedly returned to the same fields and followed exactly the same travel routes they had established before. Their nightly feeding activities became increasingly regular and gradually expanded into neighboring cultivated areas. Ordinary methods of driving them away were no longer effective, as the herd quickly returned after each attempt. In response, the management team decided to install infrared cameras around the affected area. The recorded footage clearly identified the herd's arrival times, population size, and the routes they consistently used. Based on the information collected from the cameras, the management team selected a location directly along the herd's regular travel route to install a trap. A large circular steel trap was constructed with enough space to hold many wild boars at the same time. Every support post was firmly anchored into the ground to ensure stability during operation. During the initial stage, the trap door remained fully open, so the herd could gradually become familiar with the new structure. Bait was placed in the center, while the surrounding environment was left almost unchanged to avoid raising suspicion when the boars returned to feed. Over the following nights, the herd returned along its familiar route and began entering the trap area. The leading boars walked through the steel enclosure to reach the bait, but after eating for only a short time, they quickly walked back out. The animals behind them behaved in the same way, preventing the herd from staying inside long enough for the system to be activated. After several nights of observation, the management team realized that the trap had not been placed at the location where the herd usually remained the longest. The entire structure was dismantled and moved to another site closer to the area where the boars typically gathered to feed. Once reassembled, fresh bait was again placed in the center, and the system was prepared for the next attempt. After the trap had been relocated, the herd quickly returned along its familiar route. The leading animals entered first and approached the bait without showing any signs of caution. Seeing that the first boars were feeding safely, the others gradually followed and slowly filled the interior of the enclosure. More and more individuals entered until most of the herd had gathered around the bait. At the precise moment when the majority of the animals had passed through the entrance, the management team activated the system. The heavy steel gate immediately dropped, sealing the only exit. The trapped boars moved around the edge of the enclosure searching for a way out, but were unable to escape, leaving the entire herd safely contained. Once the herd had settled inside the trap, the management team approached to inspect the entire system and confirm the number of captured animals. The boars were then transported away from the agricultural area using specialized vehicles according to the established wildlife management procedures. After the relocation was completed, the trap was inspected again, fresh bait was added, and any necessary maintenance was carried out so it would be ready for future use. Over time, the frequency of wild boar visits decreased noticeably, crop damage became much less common, and local farmers were finally able to continue their agricultural activities with greater peace of mind. China is facing a silent battle with no clear end. A sounder of wild boars can turn vast fields into wasteland in just one night. Some weigh hundreds of kilograms and use their powerful snouts like plows to tear through rice paddies, destroying crops and years of farmers' hard work within moments. However, this problem is not limited to China. From Germany and Spain to the United States, wild boar populations are rapidly increasing, forcing governments to expand control programs. For years, countries have tried various measures to reduce the damage. Electric fences have been installed around farms, steel traps placed near forests, and professional hunting teams and helicopters deployed for tracking. Even so, wild boars continue to return. Their adaptability, caution, and rapid reproduction make complete elimination almost impossible. This is no longer a short-term hunt, but a prolonged battle without a clear ending. In the southern United States, hunters use thermal cameras and infrared equipment to track wild boar sounders at night. When individual hunting became ineffective, enormous traps began appearing in Texas and Oklahoma. Each trap consists of a circular steel enclosure measuring 10 to 15 meters, large enough to hold an entire sounder. Fermented corn is used as bait, while remote cameras allow operators to close the gate once all animals enter. A single successful activation may capture between 20 and 30 animals, but it cannot solve the problem at its source. The reason lies in the wild boar's powerful reproductive ability. A female can give birth to as many as 12 piglets per litter and reproduce twice a year under favorable conditions. Even if a small group remains hidden in the forest, the population can recover rapidly. Millions are already spread across several American states, with Texas facing the greatest pressure. The damage goes far beyond uprooted crops. At night, sounders invade cornfields, rice paddies, vineyards, and grazing land. They eat plant roots, damage irrigation systems and fences, and leave the ground looking as though plowed by heavy machinery. In only one night, farmers can lose an entire year's carefully cultivated harvest. In the United States, annual losses reach billions of dollars, even before recovery costs. While many regions focus on eliminating wild boars, China has chosen a different path. Instead of viewing them only as destructive pests, the country now treats them as a valuable food resource. In the mountainous regions of southern and southwestern China, wild boar meat is popular as a premium ingredient because of its firm texture, low fat, and richer flavor than ordinary pork. Its high price is turning a rural threat into an economic opportunity. A major turning point came after the 2018 African swine fever outbreak. When meat supplies and prices were severely affected, farmers in Guangxi, Hunan, and Guizhou began testing semi-wild farming methods. They surrounded hills and forests covering 20 to 50 hectares with steel fencing, creating an environment close to nature. On large farms, thousands of animals live freely, search for food, and remain active across wide areas daily. This natural living environment produces the distinctive meat quality favored by premium markets. Instead of expensive industrial feed, farmers use corn, cassava, sweet potatoes, rice bran, soybeans, and local byproducts. Costs remain low, while the animals continue reproducing in healthy conditions. After 12 to 18 months, an adult reaches substantial weight and provides firm, flavorful meat. High prices and low production costs have helped this industry grow into a multi-billion-dollar market. The economic value of wild boars is not limited to fresh meat. In factories, lean meat is ground and mixed with fat, spices, wine, garlic, and special ingredients to produce premium salami. The mixture is packed into natural casings, then fermented and aged under controlled temperature and humidity. Large hind legs are salted, washed, shaped, and hung for long periods, developing deeper flavor and distinctive texture. Once regarded as troublesome animals that destroyed farmland, wild boars are becoming an important raw material for the premium food market. This approach cannot completely solve the problem of wild populations, but it demonstrates a strategy combining population control with economic use. If you found this story interesting, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and follow upcoming content.
For many years, wild boar herds lived deep within vast natural forests. They survived in groups and maintained stable population growth through successive generations. As the size of the herds increased, their demand for food also became greater than before. Traditional feeding areas gradually became insufficient to support all individuals within the herd. As a result, wild boars began expanding their range beyond their traditional habitat. They traveled across various types of terrain in search of new food sources. After expanding their range, wild boar herds began moving into agricultural areas located near the forests. Fields and cultivated lands quickly became attractive feeding grounds for them. At first, the herds appeared only at certain times, but their frequency gradually increased over time. They established regular travel routes between their shelter in the forest and the production areas outside. This made access to food much easier. As the number of individuals continued to grow, their range expanded as well. Residents repeatedly recorded signs and sightings of the herds in many different agricultural areas. Not only did the herds appear in production zones, but they also moved closer to nearby residential areas. The distance between humans and the herds gradually narrowed over time. Unexpected encounters began occurring more frequently than before. Some individuals reacted aggressively when they felt threatened or were approached at close range. In many situations, they were willing to charge in self-defense or to protect their herd. This caused increasing concern among local residents about safety risks in the area. Under these circumstances, controlling the wild boar population became an issue of special concern. To prepare for the control process, management teams conducted extensive surveys of the herd's activities across a wide area. The routes most frequently used by the herds were identified and carefully marked. In open areas, large circular traps made of strong steel frames were installed to contain multiple individuals at the same time. In addition, rectangular traps were placed along narrow travel corridors or in locations with favorable terrain. After the structures were completed, the gate systems were thoroughly inspected to ensure reliable operation. Once installation was finished, bait was placed at the center of the trap systems. After some time, the wild boars returned along their familiar feeding routes. The leading individuals approached the bait area and observed their surroundings before entering. When no signs of danger were detected, the animals behind quickly followed in small groups. The number of individuals inside the trap gradually increased with each wave of movement. The scent of the bait continued attracting more animals deeper into the controlled area. Before long, most of the herd had gathered within the trap perimeter. When favorable conditions appeared, the system was activated at the predetermined moment. The steel gates quickly closed and blocked all exits to the outside. The herd was immediately contained within the controlled area. The trapped animals repeatedly moved along the edges of the trap searching for an escape route, but none succeeded. Numerous collisions occurred between the herd and the steel framework, yet the entire structure remained firmly in place. After a short period, the herd gradually settled inside the enclosure. Once the herd had stabilized inside the trap, the management team approached the area and inspected the condition of the captured animals. Specialized transport vehicles were brought in to remove the herd from the location. After the transfer was completed, the trap system was inspected and maintained to prepare for future use. The area gradually returned to a stable state as the wild boars no longer appeared as frequently as before.
Florida has long been one of the areas where the wild hog population has expanded rapidly. Over the past several weeks, Patricia has repeatedly discovered fresh tracks around the pastures, livestock feeding areas, and trails leading toward the edge of the woods. Their increasingly frequent presence has made managing the farm far more difficult. After spending several days tracking the herd's movements, she decided to contact us for help inspecting the trap systems installed along their main travel routes. Unlike many conventional traps, this system is designed to guide an entire sounder through a specially designed entrance and deep into an enclosed netted area. Once inside, the hogs have a difficult time locating the exact way out. Still, no one can predict what each trap will reveal. Around midnight, the monitoring system sent an alert indicating that the first trap had been triggered. Although Patricia was eager to check immediately, she decided to wait until morning so the team could work safely and inspect the site more clearly. Early the next morning, the entire team quickly arrived at the first location. The heavy concentration of tracks on the ground showed that a full sounder had moved through the area during the night. This confirmed that the travel route Patricia had patiently monitored for several days was exactly right. After evaluating the site and completing the work there, the team moved on to the next location with high expectations. If the system continued to perform as planned, the remaining sites could help us better understand the size of the sounder and its movement patterns. The next trap presented an entirely different challenge. As soon as the hogs became aware of the team's presence, they grew extremely alert and began circling the enclosure in search and escape route. Patricia reminded everyone to remain in position, keep noise to a minimum, and avoid getting too close. Wild animals can react unpredictably when they feel cornered, so every step had to be carried out calmly, in the correct order, and according to the agreed-upon plan. The situation once again proved that hands-on field experience can be just as important as any modern equipment. After completing inspections at several locations, Patricia led us to another trap near an area where numerous piglet tracks had previously been found. She hoped the site would provide more information about how the different groups had been moving in recent days. Sure enough, animals of various sizes were inside the enclosure. The workload required the team to coordinate far more closely than at the previous sites. Patricia remained in constant communication with everyone to ensure that each step was completed according to plan. Although the process took considerable time, this became one of the most informative inspections for understanding the sounder structure and group movement. That night, the monitoring system reported that the final trap had also been triggered. When we arrived the following morning, Patricia was already there. She had inspected the site, documented the travel routes, and prepared everything the team would need. Looking through her notebook, filled with details about arrival times, movement directions, tracks, and weather conditions, we understood why she could often predict with remarkable accuracy where the wild hogs would return. Behind every successful inspection lies more than the performance of the trap itself. It also requires countless hours of observation, detailed record keeping, and patience in the field. Our day with Patricia came to an end as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the Florida grasslands. What stayed with us most was not the number of wild hogs recorded at each location, but the way she patiently studied every track, every trail, and every subtle change in the environment. That patience helped the entire team better understand wild hog behavior and explain why every field inspection could produce an unexpected discovery. Perhaps that is also why we will always be ready to return to Florida for another journey in the future.
Recently, wild boar herds have been appearing more frequently in production areas located near natural forests. Fields, farms, and cultivated land have become familiar feeding grounds for them. At first, their appearances were sparse, but after a short period, the herd began returning more regularly. They move along fixed routes between the forest and production areas, creating a repetitive pattern of activity over many consecutive days. Their feeding range gradually expands into multiple cultivated zones, making their presence increasingly familiar to local residents. As the number of individuals continues to grow, the wild boar herd is no longer limited to familiar areas. They constantly expand their movement range in search of new food sources. Old routes are still maintained, while additional paths emerge through agricultural lands. The herd travels farther during each feeding trip before returning to the forest. This expansion allows access to more food sources, but also increases the scale of impact on surrounding areas. Not limited to agricultural zones, the wild boars also move closer to human settlements. They appear around gardens, small roads, and areas near residential edges. The distance between humans and the herd is gradually shrinking as both share increasingly limited space. Unexpected encounters begin to occur at different times of the day. Some individuals react aggressively when they feel threatened or approach too closely. The rising risk of conflict causes concern among residents and increases the demand for effective control measures. Prepare for controlling the herd. The response team surveys the routes commonly used by the wild boars. After identifying suitable locations, circular steel frame traps are installed on open land directly along the movement paths. The structures are reinforced, and the trapdoors are kept open to appear natural. Bait is placed at the center to lure the herd deeper inside. The surrounding environment is left unchanged to avoid suspicion. Once completed, the system is maintained in a stable state while waiting for the herd's habitual return. After a period of observation, the wild boar herd returns to their familiar feeding area. Their movement traces show that they continue using the same forest-to-farmland routes. As they approach the trap zone, the leading individuals slow down and carefully observe their surroundings. However, the scent of food quickly draws their attention. Small groups gradually enter the trap area without noticing anything unusual. The number of individuals inside steadily increases, causing most of the herd to gather within the controlled zone. Once nearly the entire herd has entered the trap area, the system is activated at the correct moment. The locking mechanisms trigger simultaneously, causing the trap doors to shut quickly. All exit routes are completely blocked, preventing escape. The trapped animals move chaotically along the edges in search of a way out, but fail to escape. The steel structure holds firm against repeated impacts. After a short time, the herd becomes fully contained within the controlled area. After the herd is stabilized inside the trap, the response team enters the area to assess the situation. The animals are evaluated before being relocated using specialized transport equipment. The relocation process is carried out carefully to avoid affecting the surrounding environment. Once completed, the trap system is dismantled and inspected. The area gradually returns to a safe and stable condition as before.
Easy system. Get ready, get ready.
Maybe it'd be better if you back to that corner over there.
Come on. Yep. 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 Yep.
The camera system around the farmland began recording unusual activity during the quiet nighttime hours. At first, only a few wild boars appeared at the edge of the field, moved along the forest line, and stopped to sniff and dig through soft soil for roots, insects, and leftover food. They stayed briefly before disappearing into the darkness, so the manager did not yet consider them a serious problem. Later footage showed that the number of wild boars increased steadily with each passing night. The animals leading the group entered first, while those behind kept their distance before following the same route. Their calm movement showed that the herd had become familiar with the area and was noticeably less cautious. They appeared at nearly the same time, followed the same trail, and stayed longer during each visit. Within only a few days, the damage across the cultivated field became increasingly obvious. Large areas of soil had been disturbed, creating long furrows between crop rows, while some plants had been uprooted, exposing their roots on the damp ground. Near the forest, large tracks were clearly visible in the mud, and new trails led directly toward the crops. This showed that the herd had turned the area into a regular feeding ground. After carefully reviewing the footage and inspecting the land, the team realized that the wild boars were not moving randomly. They repeatedly followed the same route from the forest, traveled along the tree line, and then entered the field. The soil along the trail had hardened from the animals' constant movement over several nights. Once their arrival time, direction, and gathering point were identified, the best trap location became clear. A large circular trap was installed on open ground near the herd's usual travel route. The structure was built from strong steel panels and firmly anchored to the ground for greater stability. Its circular design eliminated narrow corners where the wild boars could crowd together or push against the structure. During the first stage, the gate remained completely open so the trap could blend naturally into the surroundings. The immediate goal was not to capture the herd, but to gradually reduce its natural suspicion. During the first few days, corn and grain were placed outside the entrance, where the animals could eat without crossing the steel frame. The smell quickly attracted the entire herd back to the area. At first, they ate near the gate and left, but after detecting no danger, they stayed longer and moved closer to the trap. Once the wild boars began feeding there regularly, the bait was gradually moved deeper inside. The boldest individuals entered first and approached the food near the center, while the others watched carefully from outside. After several safe visits, the more cautious animals also began following them. The bait was placed farther inside, making entry into the trap a familiar behavior rather than something suspicious or dangerous. Patience during this stage determined the success of the entire trapping process. If the gate were triggered too early, only part of the herd would be captured, while those outside might become cautious and never return. The team therefore continued observing until nearly the entire herd entered confidently and without hesitation. One night, a larger group appeared, and the wild boars gradually entered and gathered around the bait. When almost the entire herd was gathered in the center, the system was activated and the gate quickly dropped, completely blocking the exit. The brief sound gave the animals no time to retreat before the entrance was fully closed. By waiting for the right moment, the team secured the whole group with a single activation and without anyone being present nearby. The next morning, the team returned, inspected the trap, and transported the animals according to regulations. Once the operation was complete, the remaining food was removed, the trap was dismantled, and the surrounding area was carefully inspected. New signs of disturbed soil stopped appearing, the trails near the forest gradually faded, and the damaged sections slowly began to recover. The farmer could continue growing crops without worrying about further nighttime damage to the field. If you found this process interesting, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel.
He went to every...
Infrared cameras installed along the edge of the agricultural area continuously recorded the activity of wild boars after nightfall. During the first few nights, only a few individuals appeared before quickly disappearing back into the forest. They moved slowly, stopping several times to sniff the ground before entering the cultivated fields. Later recordings showed that the number of boars increased significantly. The entire herd appeared from the same direction, following one another along the same familiar trail. Every night, they repeated almost the exact same route, showing that the herd had established a regular feeding pattern in this area. Within a short period, the damage to the farmland became increasingly obvious. Many crop rows were completely uprooted, and the topsoil was turned over into large patches. Young plants were torn from the ground as the herd dug for food beneath the soil. New trails appeared along the forest edge, leading directly into the farming area. By comparing footage from multiple nights, the management team realized that the herd always arrived at nearly the same time and consistently used a single travel route. This information became the basis for selecting the most suitable location for the control operation. After surveying the site, the management team decided to build a large rectangular trap directly along the route most frequently used by the herd. The trap frame was assembled from heavy steel panels, securely connected to form a spacious, enclosed structure. Every support post was firmly anchored into the ground to ensure stability, even if many animals entered at the same time. During the initial stage, the trap door was left fully open to make the structure appear harmless. The surrounding environment was kept almost unchanged so the herd could gradually become accustomed to the new structure. After several nights of becoming familiar with the area, the wild boar herd returned along its usual path. The leading animals entered the trap, one by one, to reach the bait placed in the center. Finding nothing unusual, the rest of the herd quickly followed in small groups. Within a short time, most of the animals had gathered inside the enclosure. At the planned moment, the mechanism was activated. The heavy steel gate dropped rapidly, sealing the only exit. The trap boars moved around the edges of the enclosure, searching for an escape, but could not get out. The entire herd was quickly brought under control. Once the situation inside the trap became stable, the management team returned to inspect the entire system and confirm the number of captured animals. The wild boars were then loaded onto specialized transport vehicles and removed from the area according to the prepared management plan.
1980.
Afterward, the trap was carefully inspected, fresh bait was placed inside, and any necessary reinforcements were completed. The system remained in the same location, ready to capture additional herds that might return along the same familiar travel routes in the coming days. Immediately afterward, the trap gate was activated and dropped rapidly, sealing every possible exit. The animals inside were instantly confined within the enclosed structure. They moved along the steel fencing searching for an opening, but found none. The trap frame remained firmly in place despite repeated impacts from the herd. After a short period, activity inside gradually calmed as every escape route remained blocked. The entire herd stayed safely contained without requiring direct human intervention while the gate closed. The following morning, the management team returned to inspect the system and confirmed that the herd remained safely contained inside the trap. Specialized transport vehicles arrived to remove all captured animals from the area, according to local wildlife management procedures. After the operation was completed, the trap was dismantled, the remaining bait was collected, and the site was inspected one final time to reduce the chance of attracting more wild animals back to the area.